The Battle of Cessnock. On the 1st of May 2012, it will be 3 years since the irreversible decision to privatise Cessnock Correctional Centre was reversed by the then New South Wales Labor government. For many that endured the fight to save Cessnock, they just want to forget it and move on. This certainly isn't a bad thing. However, there are many new members that were not here at the time, so the following information is mainly for their benefit. During August 2008, it was announced that Cessnock Correctional Centre, Parklea Correctional Centre and CESU would be market tested. Cessnock PAVB voted that they would no longer negotiate any workplace reform whilst the threat of privatisation was held over their heads. This was later backed up by the IRC ruling that it was illegal for management government to use the threat of privatisation as a bargaining option. This announcement coincided with TV news headlines stating that New South Wales prison officers were overtime orders. It was also announced that all other centres would have their operational agreements torn up to be replaced with so-called management plans. Rosters were to be centralised, with casual correctional officers to be recruited, trained and introduced into the centres for the first time. In battle tactics, this was a classic pincer move. The privatisation threat should not have been a surprise. If the PAVB had not agreed to the consent award for Kempsey, Derwenya and Wellington, then many more jails may have already been privatised. On the 11th of November 2008, it was announced that the Budget Committee of Cabinet had agreed to the continuation of the Way Forward reforms, which now included the privatisation of Cessnock Correctional Centre, Parklea Correctional Centre and CESU. The committee was comprised of the newly elected Premier, Nathan Rees, Deputy Premier Carmel Tebbutt, Treasurer Eric Rusendale and Finance Minister Joe Tripodi. Premier Nathan Rees, Deputy Premier Carmel Tebbutt, Treasurer Eric Rusendale, Finance Minister Joe Tripodi. However, the architects of the privatisations were indeed the Attorney General John Hastistigos and long-serving Corrective Services Commissioner Ron Woodham. The battle to save Cessnock would now intensify. Though the threats had been around for many years, many were nevertheless shocked when the announcement was officially broadcast. After all, official New South Wales policy states, Labor opposes the private contract management of prisons. It was a decision that would not only rock the Department of Corrective Services, but also the state Labor government. It is a story of how ordinary mum and dad workers would take on a Labor government and win. How the preparedness of ordinary people, who sometimes have to do an extraordinary job, to fight for their livelihoods, their families, their community, for the prisoners that they manage, for what was right. The Cessnock PAVB motto is never give up, and because they didn't, they won. This is the story of how they fought and won. To be continued.